Ladies and gentlemen, we've all heard about walk-ins, where spirits, entities walk into people, where spirits, entities take over a body where another spirit entity has been. We know all about the walk-ins. We've heard a lot about them. We've read a lot about them. There's been a lot of YouTube videos made up about them. Deborah L. Smith, who's been on this show before, has talked about walk-ins in her own experience. Very fascinating. We should get Deborah back on the program. But I was thinking the other day, and I was reading The Secret Science, which I'm probably going to put on my website to try to get you to order through me, make a couple dollars for me, and get you maybe to read the book. And it mentioned that there might be this thing called a walk out. And that fascinated me, that there could be a walk out. And it makes sense. If there's walk-ins, then why wouldn't there be walk-outs? If spirits can walk in, why wouldn't spirits walk out? And immediately, almost immediately, my mind was brought to a scripture passage, ladies and gentlemen, a scripture passage that talks about maybe this very thing. Maybe it talks about a walk out. Let's look at that passage, and let's hope that I've still got that passage up here. I think I do. And let's take a look at it, and let's see what we can see. Genesis chapter 6, verse number 3, and we'll read it from just the English first. This is in the Old Testament, of course. Genesis chapter 6, verse number 3. And the Lord said, my spirit will not always strive with man, for he's flesh, his days will be 120 years. The Lord said, my spirit's not always going to strive with man, for man is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. I'll get into the Hebrew of that in just a minute. But you know, I say that the Bible is about 80, 20, 85, 15 as far as dung and diamonds. And I used to think that you had like diamond verses, diamond passages, dung verses, dung passages. And now I realize there's very few of it that really works that way. Very few passages in the Bible that really work that way. Derek Brose, the Global Witness, has helped me see and understand that the diamonds are sprinkled amongst the dung are sprinkled amongst the diamonds, and it's not whole passages that are diamond. It's not whole passages that are dung. It's sometimes not even whole verses that are diamond or whole verses that are dung, but the diamond and the dung are contained within the same verses. The truth is contained within error. The error is contained within truth. And many times that truth and error are contained within the very same verses. So that's maybe a podcast of its own, but the diamond and the dung are not like full verses. They're not like full passages. They're certainly not like full chapters, even though a full chapter could be dung, but most likely there'll be a diamond in there. Even though a full chapter could be all diamond, there's going to be some dung in there, ladies and gentlemen. So very powerful stuff, very powerful realizations. And with that in mind, let's look at this verse again, and we're going to break it down into the original Hebrew. And I want to show you how the encryption works. I want to show you how the encoding works. I want to show you how the deception works, ladies and gentlemen. When the powers that be, the forces that be, encode this information, they're encoding it because they want to say they told us the truth, but yet they don't want us to recognize the truth. And said Yahweh. So here's the first clue. If Yahweh says it, it's probably not true, but they throw Yahweh in to throw you off the path, because maybe this is not what Yahweh said. Maybe this is something Yahweh is co-opting. What are you talking about, Jeff? Well, let's just say for the time being, it's Yahweh. And he says that he will not, and of course not means just no, not going to do it, but will not strive, will not judge, will not defend, will not administer, will not dispute, will not quarrel, will not vindicate, and vindicated. It's very interesting that this, it's to judge, it's to act as a judge, to administer judgment, but it's to plead the cause of too. It's to execute judgment and to vindicate. It's to go to battle against enemies. It is to almost be a advocate for. Now we know that Yahweh is not going to be an advocate for men. Yahweh is a judger of men, but is it possible that if Yahweh, who was an Elohim, if his spirit won't always advocate with man, but gets tired of us, what if the unfallen Elohim get tired of us? What if their spirits, their wind, their spirit, their breath, what if the breath of God will not forever, of a long duration, if not will of a long duration, hang out with man? What's man? Man, woman, us. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. What if this is dung mixed with diamond? What if Yahweh's saying, listen, I'm not always going to put up with man. I'm going to kill him because I'm sick of him. But what if he's telling us truth as well? What if he's disclosing truth in the midst of a lie? What if he's saying, look, the spirit of the Elohim will not dwell with man in perpetuity either. The spirit of the positive Elohim will not stay in us forever. We get this concept that either, if you're brought up in the West, you either think God's always with you or God's never with you. Or you think God's always going to be there, or you think he's never there. What if walk-ins also have their correlation of walk-outs? What if the true spirit of the true gods won't strive with men forever? What if the true spirit of the true gods will not defend men forever? What if the true spirit of the true gods will not strive for men forever, will not vindicate men forever? What if the true spirit of the true gods won't recompense man forever? Won't defend man forever, won't plead the cause of man forever, won't be an advocate of man forever? But what if the true spirit of the divine ones, or the divine one, is not going to stay with you forever? What if over and over and over and continually you quench the Spirit of God? What if he eventually decides that he's going to walk out? Is it possible, ladies and gentlemen? Is it possible that the Spirit of the divine would walk out? Is it possible that the Spirit of the divine might walk out in just the same way that the Spirit of the divine is, or other spirits are said to walk in? Is there a hidden truth within this error that they're trying to bring to us? Is there a hidden truth within error that they're trying to disclose to us without disclosing it in a way that we'll get it? Is it possible for the Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of the true gods, is it possible that that Spirit won't always strive with men either? Is it true that at some point, even the Spirit of the Almighty will get tired of us? 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 19. I want to look at that just a second. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 19. It says, quench not the Spirit. Again, Paul telling you things that are true, but telling you in the midst of error so you don't see them. The word quench means extinguish, suppress, thwart. quench. Do not extinguish, do not quench, do not suppress, do not thwart what? The Spirit of the divine. And what if, ladies and gentlemen, what if by our continued actions of quenching, our continued actions of suppressing, our continued actions of pushing to the back, pushing to the side, the true Spirit of the divine, what if the true Spirit of the divine decides to walk out? Can you tell me, can you show me, can you promise me that it won't happen? And think of this. We're the last generation of real humans. And for some reason, the divine ones have chosen to work through us. So if they're going to get it done, they've got to get it done through us. And cousin, if things are coming to an end, if we're coming to a great point of change and reconciliation, ascension, whatever, I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. It could be bad for you. It could be good for you. But the chances are good that something good can happen to us. I've got a feeling that something good is going to happen. And what if the Spirit of the divine says, you know what? I got to get some work done. And this person keeps resisting and keeps resisting and keeps resisting and keeps resisting. So I'm out of here. I'm going to find another vessel to work through. Think about that. And think about your own life. How long are you willing to resist the Spirit of the divine? And what happens if the Spirit of the divine decides, you know what? I got too much to do and not enough time to do it. I'm out of this vessel and I'm looking for another vessel to take up this great cause, to take up this great work. What if the divine is in the working business and business is a booming and we need more workers? The harvest is great. The laborers are few. Few are called. Many are called. Few are chosen. What happens to the one that aren't chosen? They're called. Why aren't they chosen? Maybe it's because the Spirit leaves, because the Spirit won't always strive with men. Yahweh tried to take credit for that in Genesis chapter 6, verse number 3. But what if it's also a revelation that, cousin, the Spirit is not always going to strive with you. And if you keep doing despite to the Spirit of grace, if you keep pushing back and pushing back and pushing back, and if you won't buck up, buttercup, maybe the Spirit says, you know what? I'm done. I got work to do. I got to go find somebody that will do it. And I wonder about 120 years. Does each of us get 120 years to get our stuff together? And if we don't, the Spirit moves on. And is that 120 years carried over multiple lifetimes? Wow. Is it carried over a couple lifetimes? Or do we take it literally 120 days is about 4 months once you really get touched and once you really get woke by the Spirit? Do you have 120 days? I'm not trying to scare you, but I am trying to encourage you. I'm trying to excite you. I'm trying to motivate you. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to motivate you. We've got passages that say the Spirit's not always going to strive with men. We've got passages that mention 120 years or 120 days. Now, I'm not saying that that's all we get, but I'm saying it's possible. And we know there's walk-ins. Everything's in balance. Everything's in harmony. As above, so below. As within, so without. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's walk-ins, there may doggone well be walk-outs too. And if the Spirit's walking out of you, that might explain why some have said 70% of humanity, and that's probably an optimistic number, are soulless. And that might explain why some people are soulless, because the Spirit of the living God walks out, because the Spirit of the living God's got business to do. Business is a booming. The harvest is great, the laborers are few. So we need to get into somebody that's going to do some work and leave this person that's not. What kind of person are you, ladies and gentlemen? Have you had a walk in? Have you had a walk out? Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. Unindoctrinate yourself, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru, create yourself, build the life you'll love. It's an inside job, and no one can do it for you. It's one thing to have somebody walk out on you. It's another thing to have the Spirit of the living God walk out on you, or walk out of you. Maybe it's a time for a checkup. Maybe it's time for a personal inventory. We're the last generation of real humans. We need to get busy, or we might get left. It's possible. I salute you for being here, seeking after truth, love, and light. We'll see you again real soon. I got another one coming up, which is, it's going to upset a lot of you, but it's the humility trap. That's right. I said it. The humility trap. You've got to hear that coming up later today. Same bad time, same bad channel. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is New Cosmic Knowledge. We are the last generation of real humans. Cousins, let's get busy.